it mean to be happy? And can we get so caught up in the pursuit that we fail to savor in the journey? Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, esteemed guests, everyone in this room seeks to attain happiness, but everyone also has a different perspective on what it means to be happy. Perhaps many of you thought like I did, that when I would reach a certain milestone or attain some material item that I would achieve happiness. But I found as I got older and had different experiences, my perspective on happiness constantly changed. So I thought to myself, what is it really? Ironically, it wasn't until I took a trip to visit my extended family in Pakistan last year, a country which the West perceives as backwards, unstable, and impoverished, did my perspective on happiness truly transform. I went to Pakistan as a means to escape the chaos that my personal life seemed to be enveloped in. My closest relationships were in turmoil, my educational and career goals were all out of focus. You know when you reached a high point in your life only to come spiraling downwards? There I was, 25 years old, in a bitter and rocky marriage, bitter divorce, failing out of my graduate courses, at the risk of being kicked out of the program of my dreams. When I felt I had hit rock bottom, I was confused and depressed. I was at the brink of despair, for what I felt were the sources leading to my happiness were actually the causes of my tribulation. I went to Pakistan during the coldest time of the year, when the temperature could drop to the low 30s in Fahrenheit, which doesn't seem so bad, but I was quick to find out that things that I perceived as necessities were actually luxuries in this part of the world. As I arrived in my ancestral home, being warmly received by my aunts, uncles, and cousins with open arms, hearts, and smiles, I was ushered into the living room to make myself comfortable on the couch. And as I sat on the cold, damp cushions, I wondered why it wasn't warming up as I came inside. Why did it almost feel colder inside than it did outside? I looked around and thought it was because of the high ceilings or the wide open rooms, or perhaps that the house was made of concrete and not insulated. But no, there was no heat. Indoor heating was actually a luxury. Next, I went to charge my cell phone to connect with friends back home, and to my bewilderment was told that the power was out and wouldn't come back for another 2 hours. Electricity was a luxury. Next, I felt like a hot shower was in order, as I felt like an ice cube abandoned in the back of a freezer. And as I approached the bathroom with my change of clothes, my aunt called out, "Oh, sweetie, there's no hot water left, but I can heat some up on the stove and fill it up in a bucket if you'd like." Hot water was a luxury. At that point, my cousin whispered back to her, "Mom, I don't think there's enough gas in the cylinder to heat up water and cook dinner for tonight." Gas, fuel, was a luxury. As those 3 long weeks went on, some days I felt like a basic struggle to survive, but my problems back at home seemed so menial and ever so distant in those moments. One night, as I sat huddled with my extended family around burning hot coals, bundled in layers upon layers of clothes, singing songs, cracking jokes, and enjoying hot tea, I forgot for a moment that we've been sitting in the dark for almost 2 hours, or that I hadn't had a shower in a few days, although I was starting to smell a bit funky, or that there was any place I would rather be than the here and now. Yet, I still wasn't happy. Relieved for what I had at home, yes. Fortunate, definitely, but I still felt that I was a long way from happiness. And as the end of my trip approached and it was time for the tearful goodbyes, I boarded the plane in the anguish of facing my problems yet again. As I was arriving back in the US, I noticed I hardly felt how cold it was outside, as there was heat everywhere I went, in the airplane, in the airport, in the car, and finally, my home. Needless to say, I immediately appreciated things that I would normally have overlooked, such as hot water, electricity, and gas. That night, as I went to update my social media to tell my friends about the colorful experience I had lived through, I saw on Twitter that we could rewire our brains to be happy by simply identifying 3 things we're grateful for every day for 21 days. I decided to take this notion into practice, lest daily life settle back in and my trip become a distant memory. And I saw that even if there was 97 bad things that went wrong in my day, I could still crack a smile knowing that 3 things went right, and that was enough to make my day 100% better. This concept not only changed my outlook on my day, but soon my life. I saw that feeling gratitude and expressing gratitude to others, even if I didn't like them much, helped my relationships flourish. I soon became a more positive and happier person. So my fellow Toastmasters, I would like to ask all of you, do you feel cold and empty inside? Do you feel like you're just low on power? Do you feel like you simply just lost your motivation, your fuel to attain true happiness? I urge you to identify just 3 things you're grateful for. Say it out loud, tell it to a friend, write it in a journal, whatever you prefer, and see how your perspective on happiness changes through the simple act of gratitude. I'm sure you'll come to see that gratitude illuminates the path to happiness and connects you to a greater energy. You'll come to learn the fruitful lesson that I learned, that there's no better time to be happy than right now, and no better way to do that than by simply being grateful.